This is an interview on the 12th of September 2004 with Private Samuel Joseph Pyke, known as Bomber, V42273, 39th Battalion, D Company, 17th Platoon. Well, first of all, Sam, how did you come to join the 39th Battalion?
Well, we was in the 52nd, the national call-up, and it was 52nd Battalion now, Gippsland Bushrangers, and that was the national service. We was in the 52nd, and then they were forming the 39th Battalion, and they were asking for volunteers, and we were in the 52nd, and there was a group of us they used to call us the Zorro gang, and we all decided we'd go and join the 39.
So you all volunteered?
Yeah, well, most of them. There was a couple didn't, but.
So you would have left the camp at the 52nd and moved to the camp at Darley. What was the camp like there at Darley?
Oh, Darley was quite good. It was all set up. It was all huts, and we used to sleep in huts for a while, and it was quite a good camp.
What did your training consist of there at Darley?
Oh, we used to do. We used to go out and do rifle shooting and mock battles. You know, just the normal things.
At the camp there at Darley, the AIF was also camped.
That's right. They were camped near us, and they used to call us the Chocos, and I won't say what we used to call them, but they reckon if we went out in the hot, we'd melt.
So there was a bit of conflict between the AIF.
There was.
Mm-hmm.
There was.
Did you know that you'd be going to New Guinea?
We didn't know. We didn't know. But we went in and we was there and we had to do what we was told, and that's what we was to do.
Do you remember going in a big street parade in Melbourne before the 39th left?
We did, yeah, I remember that. Yes, we come down in the train and we did a march through Melbourne. And I think we stopped overnight at Caulfield, I think. I just can't remember.
How old would have you been at the time? About 20?
I was 20.
20.
No, I wasn't. I was 21 because the National Service used to do 3 months in and 6 months out. I'd done 3 months in and was out for the 6 months, but during that 6 months I turned 21. And then we went in after the 6 months trip, and that's when we stopped in.
Do you remember who your mates were there in the 39th when you were at Darley?
Mainly Bluey Heaney and Tommy Ginneman, mainly, but everyone was mates.
And what did you do there to have a bit of recreation? Did you go on leave back to Melbourne?
Yes, occasionally we went on leave, but we weren't at Darley that very long, so we done a few weekends back home, but not a lot because we weren't at Darley that very long.
Did they actually tell you that you would be going to New Guinea as a garrison, or did they tell you you'd be going to New Guinea?
Well, we were supposed to. The idea that we were supposed to defend Australia. Well, New Guinea was part of Australia, so we went over there, and we were supposed to just defend Australia, and that's what it turned out to be.
So most of the 39th would have thought it was a trip of a lifetime, an adventure.
Yeah, that's right.
Because a lot of them were farm,
Oh, a lot of them.
Gippsland.
No, they come from all around, yeah. Mainly Gippsland.
I believe you got a couple of troop trains from Melbourne and went up to Sydney and boarded the troop ship Aquitania
That's right, yeah.
in Sydney Harbour at Woolloomooloo.
That's right, yeah.
And how did you feel going onto the ship, getting duty?
We just took it as a normal day. I mean, you was in and that was it.
Yeah. Do you remember what happened much on the ship? Did you just...
Well, it was that pack that you just had to fit in where you could, you know. Like each company was all together, but you're on we had no beds or anything like that. You used to just put your gear down and that was it. But
I believe you slept on the deck.
that's all right. Yeah, you just used to. Well, we were only on the boat for 36 hours. You used to just. You had all your gear and your pack was there. You just lay down and had a bit of a nap if you felt like it.
Yeah. When you landed at Port Moresby, how did you feel when you first landed at Port Moresby, getting off the ship? Do you remember that?
Well, the Aquitania was too big to get into the wharf, and they used to offloaded us to. There was a few other ships there went with us, and they offloaded us onto another ship, and then it brought us into the dock.
Yeah, I think your little barges and
Yeah, that's right.
pontoons and everything.
Yeah, and they just brought us into the dock because the Aquitania was too big. It couldn't berth at the dock. So they offloaded us onto these barges and brought us in on those.
Do you remember the march when you finally offloaded? Do you remember the march out to the 7 Mile airstrip?
They do. Well, we had no gear, so we had to carry our own gear, but there was no trucks, not enough trucks to handle them or anything, and so we walked. We walked, and Murray Barracks was about a few miles out of Moresby. We walked there, and we had a rest there, and then we paddled off to the 7 Mile. And of course, we had no tents or anything. They were on the boat.
So when you got there, was nothing there?
No, there was nothing there. It was just like a bush around the aerodrome, and we just had I think it was a couple of nights before we got our tents and gear off of the ships. So we just had to
make the best of it.
Make good with what we could. I think it was a couple of days. I just can't remember.
Yeah, I think the supplies were packed wrongly, and you had to wait to get your tents.
Yeah, that's right, because they were all on the heavy stuff was on the bottom of the boat. See, all the ammunition and the tucker, and the light stuff was on the top, and so we didn't get the tucker for. Not like we got a bit of stuff enough to carry on, but nothing special.
Do you remember much about your camp there? Once you finally got your tents?
No, we just put up our tents and dug a slit trench, and used to just like doing up the camp, and that was all making the camp.
Yeah. And what was your main job then, after you'd landed?
Well, I used to drive. I was a driver really, and if there was something to drive, well, you just did it. You know, they might be unloading boats, and you just went and got the gear off the boats and brought it to where it had to go.
So mainly labouring, maybe unpacking right. And getting supplies in.
Getting the supplies in and setting the camps up.
Yeah. Did you actually have any training?
Not at Moresby, no. Because we done our training at in the old 5-2, 52nd. That's when we did most of our training there. See, as I said, we was in for 3 months and out for 6. Well, for 3 months we was doing our training, marching and mock battles and rifles and shooting and all that.
You'd only been there about 6 weeks or so on the first bombing raids started. Do you remember the first bombing raids?
I do. They come in and they bombed the drum because we had no fighters. We had nothing to go up and stop them. They used to just come over and let them go whenever they liked. They used to bomb the drum, and the Zeros used to come in and they used to strafe the airport. And like we was camped on the airport because we were supposed to be guarding it, but they used to come in and Zeros and used to go and strafe the.
Tell me about your slit trench when you found something in it one night.
Oh, yeah, we had the slit trench, and this day we were all there, and there was an air raid coming over. The sirens went, and air raid coming over, and we went out to get in the slit trench, and there's a snake in it, and so we dropped a hand grenade in on the snake and knocked the snake over, and then we got in.
After a while, the 75th Kitty Hawk Squadron, you were told they were going to be arriving. Remember what happened when they arrived?
Yeah, the Kitty Hawks, yeah, they were going to be tomorrow. Yeah, they're coming tomorrow. And that's how they got their name. They got their name, Tomorrow Hawks. But the Japs used to come over and strafe the drum when we was having brekkie about 7 o'clock in the morning. And we used to come over this mountain range, and they'd come in and strafe the drum. But we was camped on it, and this morning they come flying over. So we thought they were the Zeros, and they was ours. They were the Kitty Hawks, and we called them Tomorrow Hawks. Now everybody used to open up with whatever we had, like rifles and whatever you had, and these Kitty Hawks flew over, and we opened up. I think there was 3 or 4 of them, and there was 3 of them that were shot, and they didn't. Luckily, they didn't shoot them down, but they were unable to fly. They landed, but they were shot up, and they were unable to fly, except one. And that same afternoon, the Jap bombers come over, and this Zero went up and shot it down.
The Kitty Hawk, the one that was left went up and shot down the plane that afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kitty.
I suppose at least you felt then that you had something to fight back with.
That's right.
Because
early we didn't
have nothing. Yeah. Do you remember what sort of mischief you got up to?
Oh, sometimes we used to get on the grog because unloading the boats, and there was canteen gears, grog and tucker and everything, canteen stuff. And we used to, well, if you was driving the truck and you had a load of beer, you used to just drop her off in the slip trench somewhere near home, and you'd get into it, You'd have a bit of a party. There used to be beer and wine and whiskey, like the officers used to get whiskey and wine and all that, and we used to get a bottle of beer a week. That was our ration, but we used to dump her off in the slip trench somewhere. Smokey House, and he was the main one. We used to get, as I said, a bottle of beer a week. And our captain, he couldn't understand how most of us, we used to drink our bottle of beer and we was all right, but Smokey House was always drunk. But Smokey had his slip trench full. It was all whiskey and wine and everything.
Oh, well. Tell me about the story when you managed to get a stove, and just tell us that story.
Yeah, well, when they started the bomb, all the civilians evacuated. They left. They went back to Australia or anywhere, and all their houses and that was all left vacant. And you could go in and help yourself to anything because there's no one in it. And we had our camp there, and we went and got a stove out of one of the houses, and took it back to camp and set it up. And he used to cook in it, anything, you know. Had a trench underneath it. And we'd been doing some like building slit trenches and that, and sometimes there was rocks and that, and yes, we had jelly night. We used to blow it up and that. And when we was due to move out, we had all this jelly night all left over. And Peter Conley, he didn't know what to do. He was our loot. And he said, what are we going to do with this jelly night? And I said to him, I said, you can burn it. Oh, he said, burn it. And you can, as long as you put it out in the open, you can get it and light it and it'll just fizz. But he got a bright idea, and unbeknownst to anybody else, that he'd smarten up the fire. And it was all coals, you know, red hot coals, and he got a few sticks and he threw it underneath, and of course up it went. Blew the stove up, and him, and he got a hammer out of it. I never heard of what happened to him. Burned all his skin off and all his hair off, and they sent him home. And that he didn't come away with us, of course, because he was sent home. And we got another loot, Crawford. His name was Crawford, and we didn't know him very well because he was just come to us, you know. And we walked over, and when we was the village before you got into Kokoda, that's when we first struck the Japs, our mob. And he was there, and that's when we first struck the Japs. And village, I forget the name, but
Probably Oivy or Deniki.
no, it was only a small one just before you get into Kokoda, and that's when we first struck the Japs, and he got shot right through there. Didn't kill him, but he was wounded badly, and we went on further, and he went back, and we never heard any more of him. Don't know what happened to him. He probably trying to get back and trying to cross one of the rivers and be wounded, and he probably fell in or something. Never found out what happened.
When you're at the 7 Mile, did you used to go on marches or swimming parades?
Oh, we used to go to the river swimming, but we never used to do any parade and all that. So we used to go down to the river, down to the lake, and we used to go down, and we'd have our practice shooting. Anything was floating down the river, we'd have a go at it with our rifles or the loose 45s. We used to just shoot at anything.
And you'd go for a swim in your uniform and wash your clothes?
All the uniform was just the old shirt and trousers. It wasn't the thick, heavy ones. No. Just a normal, brown. And what we used to do, we used to go for a swim in your clothes, have a swim in the river, and then when you come out, you'd change into you had 2 suits. One you used to swim in it, which would be full of sweat and that, and put the dry ones on and hang that, and that was your turn out for the next day.
And tell us about your fishing expeditions.
Well, we used to get fish in that. There was lots of fish in the rivers, and what we used to do, you used to spread out across the river where it was only, knee deep, and someone would go up further up, maybe 20, 30 yards up, and toss hand grenades in. And the hand grenades would explode. The fish used to knock them out. And they used to float to the top, and as they floated down, we used to just grab them, and we used to wrap them up in banana leaves and cook them.
What did you used to do at night? Do you remember playing cards or anything? Or
We used to get together, like you might just gather up at someone's tent and you have a game of two-up or cards and a general chat. That's about all you could do. You used to just have a yarn. And
I think after about 6 months they put on a concert for you.
there was a concert, and you had to take your own seat or whatever, but it was a concert. It wasn't a number one concert. It was just anyone could do it, turn out, and they had their own concert sort of a thing.
So you made your own fun.
Yeah, you had to make your own fun. Otherwise, it was nothing.
Mm.
And at night time, when it got dark, you wasn't allowed to have any lights because if the Japs come over, they used to see the lights. They used to bomb it. So there was no lights.
Once it was dark, that was it.
Once it was dark. Yeah.
How were you paid? Did you draw pay while you were over there?
Well, we were while I was in Moresby. You used to be able to get money, but you didn't need any.
No.
All you used to do was buy some smokes and a bottle of beer a week. That was it.
And what do you remember as the main food?
It was mainly tin stuff or dehydrated. The potatoes was they used to be a powder, and they used to mash it up. And the onions, they was all dried. But well, there wasn't any fresh veggies. And you used to have you had to have bully beef or fish. Bully beef or fish or meat and vegetables, all in tin stuff.
All tinned. Yeah. How often did you get letters and parcels from home?
I used to get them about once a week. And that's what we used to do sometimes, to fill in time, write letters. You used to just, write letters. And never used to have any stamps or anything because there wasn't any.
What sort of parcels did you get from home?
Well, I used to work at the British Tobacco Company. And you used to get an allowance of tobacco, 3 ounces a week. And they used to send that over to me. She was good and handy. And sometimes, if it was somebody's birthday, they usually get a bottle of whiskey or something. What used to happen, they used to get a loaf of bread, pull the middle out of it and stuff the bottle of whiskey into it, and wrap it up in a bit of hessian or something and post it over to you. Otherwise it'd get broken.
Well, that would have been a nice surprise.
It was always somebody's birthday. And
The Japanese had landed at Rabaul and were heading towards, they believe, Port Moresby. But they actually landed up on the northern coast around Buna and Gona.
Buna, Gona, that's right. Rabaul's in New Britain.
Right.
Well, they'd taken New Britain. But the 22nd Battalion was on New Britain, and they took New Britain. And from there they come across to Buna.
So you were told you'd be heading off to defend Kokoda. Your brother Charlie was also in D Company, and he set off in the first plane load of troops that were to reinforce B Company, who had already
that's
moved
right.
over.
B Company was there.
And D Company 16th Platoon, 17th Platoon was going to go over and reinforce them. Your brother went over and landed at Kokoda, and you set off in the next plane. What happened when you set off in the plane to go to Kokoda?
Well, we got to Kokoda, and when we got there, the drum had all drums around it. Now, Polly flew around a couple of times, and he thought the Japs had it because he just couldn't land. Had these drums all along the road, and so we flew back. But what happened was our own people that had that had put the drums on there to stop the Japs from landing. But as I say, we just couldn't land, so we flew back, and from there we had to walk.
You had to walk up the track. Yeah. How long did it take you to walk up the track, and where did you set off from?
We set off from Gona. It was you could go lower levels, they called it. You could drive up that far in motor vehicles, but you couldn't go any further. From there on, it was walk. So it was lower levels, they called it. From lower levels, we started off.
And how many hours did you walk a day?
Well, it depends how far the villages was. Sometimes you might walk 6 hours. Sometimes you might walk 10. It just depends. You used to try and go from village to village.
And how tough was it?
She was rough. There's one part of it there. It was only, but you could see one village. You could see across. It was only looked about a mile and a half. We thought, oh, nice easy day today, not far across. That's when the golden staircase. That's where you go down, and you're going down all morning, and you hit the bottom, and there's the river there, and you cross the river, and then you go up all afternoon. And she was nearly dark before we got in.
And what size packs were you carrying?
It was just a small one.
You carry your rifle and all your equipment?
Well, you had pouches on the front of your equipment. And you used to have your ammunition. And if you was lucky, a tin of tucker. And that's all you had. You only had the equipment.
How heavy was your gear?
Well, it wasn't very heavy because like the less you carried, the easier it was to walk.
You also wore your money belt, didn't you?
I had a money belt on, yeah, and this day just down behind it, sitting down having a bit of a rest behind a tree in the jungle. I had this money belt on, and I thought to myself, why should I be carrying this? It had all the silver in it, you know. It had been
your card money,
card playing and so up and that. And I thought, why should I be carrying this? I could be carrying some ammunition. So I took the money belt off and I buried it, but just scraped it, put the leaves back from under the tree, and left it there. I thought I'll get this someday. I wouldn't know where it is.
And you've never been back?
No, and I wouldn't be able to find it if I did go back.
Did the natives help carry any of your equipment on the way up?
The natives used to carry all the food and ammunition.
And they went with you on the first time when you walked up? They were
well, they at the
same time?
Yeah, they used to come in, but like we used to go first, and they used to
come behind,
come and follow it, and they used to bring the food and that, and if we had any wounded, they used to carry the wounded back. They used to make a stretcher out of a blanket or anything.
How hot was it?
Well, it was more muggy. It was humid, sticky. Like it was. I don't suppose it was hot, but it wasn't real roasting weather. But it was muggy weather. You're sweating all the time. It was clouded over sun. You could, like, if you didn't see the sun sometimes. It used to be clouded over and that. And it used to rain of a night time, but never got real cold, but it wasn't real hot.
How did you feel knowing that you're probably going to come into conflict with the Japanese?
Oh, well, you just took it as it comes, and you didn't know what was going to happen, and it was just a matter of taking.
How did you feel when you met up with the rest of D and B Company when you finally walked up and over the mountain?
No, very good. No, it was good to see them. No, we went up and we all joined in. Of course, they were all spread out. They weren't in a group. You spread out. Might be spread out over, 50, 100 yards, 200 yards. Might be 2 or 3 in one group and half a dozen in another group. And I'll never forget, we was on the track forward, and there was perhaps three or four of us, and we were guarding and waiting for the Japs. What used to happen when the Japs was coming, you used to withdraw and go back, and you might be another 80, 90 yards, 100 yards back, and there'd be someone else on the track. Well, you'd withdraw through them and go right through, and then they become the front watchers. But I'll never forget one time we was on the track, we was up the front, and it was when the 2nd 14th Battalion joined us, they joined in, and we was the Chocos, and there was these patrol of 14th blokes coming up, and we said to them, better not go no further, mate, because the Japs are just up there. Oh, they said, we'll go and fix them up. They thought we were Chocos and we didn't know anything. And they went through, and all of a sudden there was shooting and banging, and back they come, and they turned into white men.
Were you glad when the 2nd 14th arrived to relieve you?
Oh, yes. Oh, no, well, we finished up, we were all really good mates. They soon learned. Yeah, they said, oh, we'll go and fix them up.
Tell me about how you got to be cut off and how you finally got back to your group.
Well, that was when Crawford got shot. That was this village before you get into Kokoda. And that was the first thing we had with first met with the Japs.
First action.
Yeah, and they were in the village, and that's when Smoky Housen had to shoot the Jap. This chap, there was a row of banana trees, and this chap, we think he'd been shot, I don't know, but he was in there hiding, and he wouldn't come out. And that's what Smoky House and his loot said to him, there, Smoky, he said, finish him off. And Smoky, he finished him off. He didn't want to, but he did shoot him. And from there on, that's when we got cut off, and we had to...
how did you get cut off? Tell me about how you
Well, that's when we were stretched out along the track, and we had to let the Japs go through. And when they got through to the first lot, they were supposed to open up on them, but they spotted us before they got through, and
opened up
they opened up on us, and that's when we had to go bush.
So you got cut off.
Yeah, we were cut off, and that's when we had to go scrub and just.
And how long were you cut off for?
Oh, about 3 days, I think it was.
So who took charge?
Well, that's when I say we used to. There's a corporal there, and. Well, we used to. There was nobody in charge. We used to get in as a group and decide what you're going to do.
And just to refresh again, what happened? The corporal wanted to go one
He
way
wanted to go one way, and I said no. I said I don't think we should go that
because
way.
you could hear the Japanese fire and you knew it was the
Yeah, you
Japanese.
could hear the Japanese firing, and
So what happened? You took a vote?
Well, they had a vote on it and decided to go the way I said, and as it turned out, it was right.
And you rejoined the battalion
We rejoined our own crowd back at
Isharava.
Isharava.
Would have been pretty tough while you were cut off.
It was because we had no tucker. We only had 1 day's ration, and it was a matter of you ate it or you split it up with your mate or you shared. But there used to be sugar cane used to grow. We used to chew on a bit of sugar cane and that.
And how did you sleep in the jungle?
Oh, it just used to curl up anyway. I was at a tin hat and used to use that as a pillow. And you used to just curl around a bush, or you might make a bit of a bed out of leaves and branches of a tree, and you used to just curl up anywhere you could.
And at that time when you were cut off, you saw a plane that had been shot down.
Yes, it had been shot down, and it was all, well, it had hit the jungle. It was all in pieces, like just bits spread out over a big area, and didn't bother finding out whose it was or where. All he was interested was getting back.
Mm.
It had been shot down and ripped to pieces for, I don't know, it had just went through the jungle and got torn to bits.
When you were there at Isharava, do you remember digging weapons pits, or did you rejoin them after they'd
No,
done
they
the
were there
pits?
before us.
You must have rejoined them after
They did.
they'd been dug in for 4 days.
That's right.
How do you remember getting your supplies? They would have come through with Fuzzy Wuzzy Angels.
Yeah, the fathers used to carry it. As I said, the Wallaby bombers used to drop it off on these dried up lakes, and most of it. And they used to get it, and they used to bring it forward, and they used to just put it along the track, and it was a matter of just grabbing some as you went past. But a lot of it was dropped on villages, but some of it never used to hit the village. It was just kicked out of the plane.
It was wrapped in blankets.
Wrapped up in blankets.
Yeah. How long were you in action on the Kokoda Track?
Well, I reckon about 6 weeks altogether. You lose track of time, but it plays about 6 weeks.
What were your officers like?
Officer was good because I was just like one of the normal troops. Well, as I said, Crawford, he got shot, and we didn't ever. Each platoon had a lieutenant. Well, we didn't have one. Mm. Peter Conley, he got burnt with the oven blew up.
Mm. And the officers dressed just as you did, didn't they?
They wouldn't dare wear pips or anything or peaked hats. Oh no, they was targets if they wore anything special.
Did you ever remember coming across any snipers in the jungle?
Well, not really.
Did you ever get sick?
Oh, well, everyone had dysentery, but you just had to live with it. You used to get it, and you might be right for a day or two, and you get the runs again.
And what was the worst conditions you remember fighting in? Did you ever think, this is it, we're not going to get out of this?
Oh yeah, it was always in your mind, you might make it and you mightn't make it.
Mm.
There was nothing that you could do. You just had to grin and bear it, and that was it. I mean, you had to get back, and there's nothing you could do about it.
Do you remember when you withdrew from Isharava? Do you remember coming back over the Owen Stanleys?
Oh yeah, I remember coming back. Yeah, no.
What was that like when you were coming back and the Japanese were still chasing you?
Well, as I said, you used to withdraw, and you might come back, 3 or 4 hours, and then you stop. And then the ones that were up in front of you, they'd come through, and you'd stay there. And when the Japs come up close enough, you used to do a bit of firing and shooting that, and then you'd withdraw through.
So that there was always swapping the rear.
Yeah, it was always swap your front, and you used to go right through back to the other end of whoever was there.
Do you remember getting back down to Manari and having a couple of weeks break? Getting new uniforms and...
Manari, that lower levels, I suppose.
When you got back down the lower levels.
Yeah.
Do you remember having a rest for a couple of weeks and...
Then we moved,
and then you moved on?
Then you could get the trucks used to take us down to Moresby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you end up in hospital or anything after that?
No. I mean...
Were you transferred to some other unit after
After we got home.
After you got back to Moresby?
No. We come back as the 39s. We came back to Cairns. And then we went to...
Salim or
no, right
Townsville?
Townsville. No, we landed...
Atherton Tableland. You're up there.
Oh, yeah, we're up there from Tableland.
Yeah. Lake Barine and Herberton.
Yep.
Decla.
We went up to the Atherton Tablelands, and we was called up to the colonels, see the colonel, and Charlie and me, my brother, and they wanted to make us officers. But he said, you'll have to join the RAF if you want, before you go in, you know. And Charlie went in first on his own, and he come out and he shook his head, see. And then they called me in and they told me the same story. And I said, no. And they said, right, you'll be back. And that's when they split the 39 up.
And when you were questioned, they asked you why wouldn't you join the AIF, and what did you say?
I said, there's something you can't make me do.
And what did the officer say?
Went in as a choco, and I go out as a choco. And he said, you'll be going back.
Yeah. And then what happened? They did send you back.
They did send back. They sent us into the, well, not Charlie, because he got crook and he went to radio maintenance.
Mm.
But the rest of us, there was quite a few, and they sent us to the 36th Battalion. And then we was, they sent us to 36th Battalion, and they sent us back to New Britain.
Mm. And how long did you serve in New Britain?
Well, I suppose we was there 6-8 months, something like that.
Yeah. And did you have more action there?
We did have action, but not a great lot.
Not as bad as New Guinea?
No. And from there we had to walk from one side to the other to get our boat home.
You went on the Swartnord, I think.
We went over in the Swartnord and come back on the Parhood. It was an old little boat it was. And we come back on that.
Now, where were you when the war ended?
Well, back in here, and we was on leave. We was on leave when the war ended, and when they didn't even have to go back to our own mob. They Albert Park, we went out to Albert Park, and that's where they discharged us. But I was home on leave.
And what do you think it's important for the young ones of today to remember about the New Guinea campaigns?
Well, in my opinion, if they hadn't have been stopped in New Guinea, they would have been in Australia and probably took it over if they could have landed, because there's lots of them. There's lots of them.
On behalf of the 39th Battalion History Subcommittee, we'd like to thank you very much for this very interesting interview.
You're welcome. No worries.